She's too funny.
I'm just checking.
I'm going to go on to YouTube right now so I can watch us and interact with the live chat.
Thanks. Are we live? Yeah.
Yes, we are. Hi, everybody. Hello, world. We have a really interesting show today. I'm very excited about this particular subject matter. Are you, Heidi?
I am. Hold on. Can you hear anything? Like an echo, or is it just me?
I can't hear anything. It could be here, though.
Okay. Hold on. I just want to check something real fast. Okay. Hold on. Okay. So welcome to channel 27, everybody. I said I'm Jenny. I'm Heidi. This is Jenny.
This is Jenny and Heidi.
And today we're really excited to do this because we're actually going to go. We looked at Kurt Cobain's chart. We have Courtney Love's chart. And I knew nothing about them. So we're going to just dive into them and tell you guys what we think. You know, Jenny is obviously a little more familiar with this type of stuff. I'm kind of I don't really have the knowledge. I just read the charts. So it's kind of good because I actually like New Kids on the Block at this time. So I was not into the grunge scene.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny. It just highlights, though, our differences of personality because I'm a grunge kid forever for the rest of my life. On any given day, I'm listening to Alice in Chains, Audioslave, Soundgarden, Nirvana, all that nasty, grungy, dirty stuff. It's like soundtracks to my life. But you're over here like New Kids on the Block. Who else did you like?
Not really. Well, I did like some rap back in the day, but now I listen to only beats. I like house music, like only, and I like my Indian vibes. Yes.
Oh, that's so cool. Hi, everybody. Everybody's saying hi. Also, we're not matching today.
I know, it's sad. Alrighty. So, what?
Blue and green looks good.
That's right. I almost wore green today, too.
That would have been really, really weird.
It would have. But
that would have been like 4 for 4 at this point. Like, it's almost getting weird.
Yes, it would have. Okay. We're going to do some charts at the end, too. So, all right, let me just say this. Because I have an unbiased opinion, this was actually kind of good. And I can't say what my neighbor does, but let's just say she has something to do with looking into crimes. Okay, we'll say that. And so I was outside talking to her, laying out yesterday, and just talking to her about, what we were going to do this on. And she's like, well, let me ask you a question. Do you get the real criminal reports? And I'm like, no. I said, but what I'm doing is I'm looking at this, like the chart first. Then I'll look at the research later. I want to see it in the chart, what I see first. And I don't know where these times came from, why the times are even on the internet. I mean, maybe they got a few readings, who knows? But it looks like they're pretty right, actually. So, and I'm going to say that Kurt Cobain's is definitely right, for sure, for multiple reasons. And another thing I'm going to say is, if anybody's ever had a reading from me, I don't like to explain certain things because one good thing about me and my Scorpio ascendant, I just know I can read people. I know what's bad. I know what's not. I know who's shady, who's not. I know who lies, who doesn't. And this is just a natural gift I have. So for me to just, I'm going to say things, I'll try to explain it as best I can. But when I do readings and I read charts, I kind of go into my own zone and just know what to say and know how it's coming out. So, Jenny, let's get moving. I'm going to share my screen.
Okay. Someone said a paid personal topless reading would be nice.
Yeah, and hey, I wanted to say to the moderators, do not, if somebody says something that's like that, we don't really care. Just people that are stupid, that say I'm stupid or Jenny's stupid or something like really noble. Okay, that's what pisses us off, because what happens is if you time them out, they go to my spam list. So I don't want somebody to think I blocked them. And because look, you can say Any comment to me, it's not going to bug me, nor am I going to be affected by it, but just don't call me stupid. Real simple.
Right. No, I'm generally the same mindset. I really don't care. Stupid comments, like lewd comments or silly remarks, none of that stuff is bothersome in the slightest. I really don't care what anybody says that's negative. It's fine.
Okay.
We're not really about censorship anyways, so I really don't care.
You can see my screen over here, right?
I can, yes.
And you see this is his chart, right? I spelled his name wrong. Sorry. Okay.
How do you spell his name wrong?
I spelled his last name with a C or with a K.
Oh, that's interesting.
Okay, so it was interesting because first of all, I had his chart. He was born. I had initially Seattle, Washington. Okay, because that's what I thought.
Yeah.
That's what the birth chart said. Well, then when I was listening to the documentary, I put at the actual hospital he was at, and this probably 20 minutes away, but this changed his ascendant. So it was 1 degree of Virgo, and the actual hospital swapped this and made him a Leo ascendant, which totally made more sense. Like I was reading his chart the other way, and then I switched it this way, and it was like dead on. Okay. So this is his ascendant. He's a Leo ascendant. Okay. And I'm going to say that Leo ascendants, obviously there's a lot of people that are Leos that are in the limelight. It's all about using your creative self-expression, whether you're singing, writing, acting, anything like that. So that's what that's all about. Okay. And your ascendant is the most important part of your astrology chart because it's basically what you're here to do. It's your life path. Okay. So it's very, very important it's your health, it's your appearance, it's, how people see you. It's everything like that. So he doesn't have any planets in his first house, right? So what that means really is besides Uranus and Pluto. Sorry, I've talked a lot the past 2 days.
Can I just say something really quick? Warrior Princess, thank you so much. She just donated in our chat. And I wanted to know, Heidi, are we doing, I know we are going to do a few live readings at the end here.
Yes.
But are people going to be able to pay for readings? Are we encouraging this?
It would be nice, but if you don't want to, here's the deal. This is how I feel about it. If somebody donates, yeah, obviously we're going to look at your chart first. It just is what it is. If nobody donates,
this isn't right. We will.
We'll still look at charts.
It's not. It's absolutely not necessary.
Required. Right. Okay.
Okay. Sorry. I just wanted to say that really quick and acknowledge Warrior Princess for.
Thank you, Warrior Princess.
Contribution. Yes. Thank you. Okay. Please continue. My apologies.
That's okay. So I watched the first documentary on him, and they were like, he had all these health problems, stomach problems. He had this problem. He was bipolar. First of all, I'm going to tell you, he wasn't bipolar. I don't care what anybody says. His moon is alone. Okay. It's in Ardra, but he's not, he's not bipolar. Okay.
Wait,
so that's the thing with his skin.
Moon in Ardra?
Yes. He has a moon in Ardra, just like you. Yeah. So, okay. So keep this in mind. Anybody that's suicidal, that has split personalities, has an afflicted moon, meaning you have Rahu conjunct the moon. You have, if you have moon conjunct Jupiter, yeah, it could be like somebody that has an addictive, he definitely has an addictive personality. Don't get me wrong, but bipolar, no. ADHD, no. Maybe ADD, not ADHD. Okay. So like there's certain things, but they did say he had scoliosis, right? So the scoliosis, you got to look in a chart. That's the back. That's the 10th house. And there's no planets in his 10th house. So I'm still confused, right? Well, I read about his ascendant nakshatra's health problems. So his ascendant nakshatra is Uttara Falguni. It's ruled by the sun. Initially, the 10th house is going to have a connection with that. Sun can be your bones. Sun's your vitality. So Uttara Falguni rules the spinal cord, intestines, bowels, liver. Native born in this nakshatra are prone to spotted fever, pain, staining, brain clotting, stomach disorders, sore throat. Okay, stuff like this. So right then and there, his ascendant nakshatra that explained a little bit of that. Okay. But I can tell you that I didn't see anything, other than when you have Mars and K2 conjunct, it can be like unhidden things. Like I would say he could have had sexual diseases. Okay. More so than anything. That's just in his chart. And we're not going to go there, but that's the health stuff. So, to automatically hear that he was so suicidal, no, I know that when you get addicted to heroin, anybody can, if you try heroin once, like you can become addicted to heroin because it just has that kind of effect, I've heard. So I've never tried heroin. I can't vouch to saying that I know this, but it's not like, yeah, I'm sure he dabbled in a lot of drugs, but I'm going to tell you that all the drugs that he dabbled in were for pain. I would say probably his back or whatever. I do believe he was in a lot of pain, but more so, I don't know. That's not what I see. Okay. So then you have to look at his spouse, right? We know his spouse, the significator in his chart is the DK. This is what this means, is spouse. The DK, these are these significators, karkas, they're called. It's Jupiter. So you have to look where Jupiter sits. Well, guess where Jupiter is? In his 12th house. What's 12th house? Hidden enemies. Okay, it's self-sacrifice, hospitals, jails, mysteries, hidden talent, imprisonment, expenses, losses. So it's moksha, it's endings, right? So Jupiter in the 12th, spouse is ruled by her, we'll just say Courtney is ruled by that in his chart, okay? Another thing you have to look at, you have to look where the first lord of the chart goes. The first lord goes into the 7th house. His whole life purpose and focus was on others. Like he wasn't this guy that was an emotional like train wreck that was very selfish. Okay. He was with the wrong people, the wrong groups, and had a lot of power struggles with his wife. I would say there was a lot of competition. Okay. Lots of it. And I'm going to say what I wrote a lot of notes down, which I can't even believe I'm actually going to remember to read them. But so when the first lord goes into the 7th house and the planet is the sun, because the first what is the rulership of Leo. Okay. That's the sun. So that sits in the 7th house. His basically whole life focus will be on that 7th house. So it deals with masses, mass fame. It's interacting with others. He feels complete in partnerships. So he relies on others for his self-esteem. And, and also power struggles. Wherever the sun sits, it burns wherever it is. So with the sun being in the 7th house, power struggles, fights, battles with the spouse, all over. I mean, competition. Like they were always, I'm sure there was a lot of competition. I wish we knew somebody that knew them, because that would be more of it. It would be more fights, battles, and power struggles. And I heard he had a prenup against his wife, right? And if he died, like the only way she was going to get money is if he died. Basically, if
oh my gosh, Heidi. I mean, that's a whole trajectory here, and I really want to get into her and her background.
Let me tell you a couple more things.
Finish. Yeah.
Okay, so Venus and Saturn in the 8th house. This right here. What's the 8th house? Okay, there's so much 8th house all over his chart, but especially hers. Remember when we bring her chart up. The 8th house is endings, death, it's disgrace, it's sex, passion, it's control, it's also suffering, it's inheritances, it's money, it's manipulation, it's mafia affairs. I mean, it's all this stuff. It's the darkest house. It's the Scorpio house. Most people can't understand the 8th house. The 8th house is everything that's hidden, things that are hidden, things that not everybody knows. It's stuff that and it's a dark house, right? Well, when you have Venus conjunct Saturn there, Venus is women, his romance. You can see there's already battles, issues with women, with his wife. If you look at women for the significator too, you have to look where Venus sits, and and Saturn's there. So this would be the only thing where he could like OD. Okay, if he overdosed, which I don't. Yes, he did a lot of heroin, but I don't believe his intention was to kill himself. I just don't. I just don't see it. There's nothing I see in his chart. He has K2 conjunct Mars in the 3rd house. The 8th from the 8th is the 3rd. That's called from house to house in astrology. So you really have to look at the 8th house. When you look at his transits the day he died, So a conflicted moon, like suicide, would be coming under Rahu moon. Like if Rahu was conjunct on his moon, right? Then maybe he would have killed himself, I would say. But if you look at his transits, what did I say the third house was? You got to look at it for it's the eighth house. It's also contracts, deals. It's hard work. It's contracts, documents. It's your neighbors, your friends, efforts. It's all that stuff. But it is the eighth from the eighth. It's the eighth from the eighth. So it's still a death inflicting house. And
this is the time of death.
This is when he died. Well, guess what's sitting in there? Jupiter. What did I say Jupiter was? Her in his chart. Look, right on this.
It all comes to a point.
How the exact time, 7:27 was the time he died, AM. Venus was exact on Rahu. K2, I mean, this is like crazy. And I will say, death inflicting houses. Death is, Saturn can cause death. Death inflicting house is, everybody that I know that passed away that I've actually researched and saw them pass away or knew of them, they had something going on in the seventh house. Okay, so sixth house, his moon was in the sixth, these 2 days, enemies. Enemies. It's all like, this is all enemies. This is death. It's over money. You can see it. It's as clear as day. And I mean, there's so many other things, but I will say that the person that has the unstable moon, for sure, the unstable thought process is 100% her. So let's, and you know, I'll let you say some things now, and then, you know, then we'll go into Courtney's chart.
Sure. So, you know, the whole issue of Kurt and Nirvana and that whole thing, it's so, it had such a profound effect on people, on an entire generation, and still, like, he's still relevant. That whole thing is still relevant. And, you know, it really is, someone just mentioned, it was Heather actually in the chat right now. You know, it wasn't just about someone getting shot over money or a power struggle or anything like that. Kurt Cobain was such a key player in an entire movement. And again, we see this like with Elvis. We see this with a lot of these iconic people that are, you know, risen to this level of superstardom, and they're just standouts, right? And then we see, it's kind of like how you said, they find themselves the wrong place, the wrong time, wrong people that, you know, I think it's very apparent to me, and we're going to look at Courtney Love's chart. She is not an accident. I don't feel that any of this is an accident. None of it is a coincidence or bad luck or anything like that. Courtney Love's own father, his name is Hank, has gone on record publicly and repeatedly and written about it. And he says, you know, I don't know who did it. I don't know who's responsible for his death. He said, I can tell you who benefited from it though. And also, you know, he is an admitted psychopath and sociopath. And he said, and my daughter is just like me. Is Courtney Love a psychopath and a sociopath? I can say, hell yeah, she is. She absolutely is. And, you know, her maternal grandparents, she actually has ties to Hollywood. Her mother is she's a 35-year life coach, okay? She does counseling for couples and emotional behavioral health. No, this is no shit. And
I believe you, but it's funny.
It all really kind of fits together. She charges thousands of dollars for a package, okay? And the father is a psychopath, sociopath. You know, she would say that he's an opportunist, coming out and saying these things and what have you, but that's typical. And maybe he is an opportunist. You know, he's admitting to us that he's a psychopath and a sociopath, so it does make sense, but at least he's being honest. And then, you know, Courtney's own, her grandmother was a famous novelist. And they have all these ties. I mean, there's stories with Humphrey Bogart and F. Scott Fitzgerald. I mean, it goes way, way back. And the maternal grandparents actually established a trust fund for Courtney. And when she needed it most, she was in her teens, she relied on this trust fund money. It actually facilitated her integration into the grunge scene. So it was one of my thoughts too. I said, how does this chick come in and you know, she was a self-proclaimed scenester. Like she was just one of the people that just hung out and like, you know, when grunge was up and coming and all that stuff, she was there. And I think to myself, how did this girl find herself there? And I think that she is an MK Ultra handler. I'm just going to come out and say it. I think she was Kurt's handler. Everybody that was close to the two of them would say that she controlled him, his thoughts, his actions, every second of every day. He was in her mind. I resonate deeply with Kurt. I'm also a Pisces. My son was born February 20th.
He's not a Pisces.
Doesn't he have some Piscean qualities though? He has.
His Venus is in Pisces, and yes,
that's that love. That's that love, dreaminess, fantasy stuff. But that's like what I see in him, and what I get from a lot of his music is this guy that was so much more comfortable in his illusions and in his fantasies than he was in the real world.
So let me tell you what that is. Okay, Uttara Falguni, that nakshatra is all about dark, like the dark art. It's the service. Okay. Yeah. His third lord goes into the 8th house, and it's all about like his dramatic art was coming from that in his chart, his nakshatras and his planet. I'm not going to say it all on here because we'll just bore people. I'll just kind of say what I think people can understand. But it's a lot. His third lord went into the 8th house. His communication, his writing, his music was all dark. Venus and Saturn in the 8th house was bringing the dark to light. He had a natural inclination. What I thought was so amazing, he's got Mars and K2 conjunct in Libra. Okay, I have Mars and K2 conjunct in the first house. So I have been told from numerous astrologers that that Mars K2 that's somebody that can create violence, not somebody necessarily that's going to like do it to themselves. It's going to be more. Does he have any siblings? I don't think he does. Does he? Any brothers? Or I'd be curious to know if he did, but.
He had step siblings. His father and mother split up, and then his father remarried, and he had siblings, and he hated that apparently because he'd gotten. Apparently, his childhood was not tormented. Like up until a certain point, he enjoyed all kinds of like his art was facilitated, like his artistic expression was fostered by his family. He was loved, he was supported, but then he ended up having to kind of share attention. And like, I think it just kind of made him like start to act out. And I can tell you, I was just going to say that as somebody with the moon in Ardra, I understand him. I listen to him speak. I listen to his music every single day. I observe him and I'm like, I get you. I completely get him. And when Courtney Love, and I will say that she's probably not the first woman to control him. I feel like that's a pattern he runs. It's like he's almost, you know what I mean? The women, for guy friends, people like that, anybody, I feel like he'd just be really easy to influence because that's just his chemistry. It's just like.
So let me say a couple things about him. He knew shit. He was a conspirator. Like he would have been.
Oh God, he was. No, okay? You're not kidding. 100%.
That's Mars in K2, natural investigator. Okay, that's like there's a reason why we're doing these charts. And I mean, you know what I saw an interview on him after? It said that he loved learning about science and medical devices. Okay, Mars in K2 conjunct is like surgery and medical devices. It's surgeons. It's somebody that could be a doctor. It can be somebody that could be a surgeon, but it's literally in Swati Patafor. Swati Patafor is all about medical equipment, needles and all that stuff, which is why he had a fascination with this stuff. He literally said he liked to go into consignment shops that sold medical equipment, this interview that he did. He was like not that guy. And he was all about service and serving people. He was not an emotional, like he wasn't going to kill himself.
Right.
Like, no. People who are selfish kill themselves.
Right. And he loved, no, it's true. I mean, I agree with you. I mean, listen,
one other thing, I got to say this. He had Venus and Saturn is fear. Okay. If you are fearful of death, his Saturn sits in his 8th house. You're not going to die. You're not going to kill yourself. He was scared of death. He understood it. He had an affinity with the dark side and obsession with it. When you have a fear of it, you're not going to take your own life. I believe it. Not happening. Okay, go ahead.
No, it's totally true. He had this really, really healthy skepticism about the way that the world worked. One of my favorite songs that they wrote was called Frances Farmer Will Have Her Revenge on Seattle. And this woman, Frances Farmer, we won't get into it. She was an actress. She was blackballed by the establishment because she was a loudmouth. She knew that there was shit wrong. She never fell into line. She pissed off powerful people, and she lived out her days tortured. And she was a tortured soul. And Kurt Cobain really resonated with her story so deeply, and the reality of what happened to her spoke to him on such a level. He even used the term conspiracy theorist in the conspiracy theory in the interview. Not even theory. He said it was a conspiracy. So he did know that if you don't get with the program, that you pay the price. I really think that towards the end, he knew that Courtney Love was, maybe he didn't use the terminology handler, but I think he was really starting to come into the realization that she was just absolutely no good. He could have known that for quite some time, but when you have a child, it makes things complicated. People around him say that he was trying to get away from her. He was desperate to get away from her. There was another woman involved.
It's definitely a possibility.
It's such a mess. And Courtney Love is still, she's still out here, or clones of her, or whatever, fragments of her, a shell of who she used to be. She's out here, and it's just like, it's pretty infuriating, because whether or not I don't believe she was the one that did it.
I don't either. No.
But I think it was sanctioned. There's a man from a group called the Mentors. I believe that's the name of the band. Came forward and said, Courtney Love offered me a huge sum of money to blow her man's brains out, and he didn't do it. But then there was another guy that would do it, and his name was Alan Wrench.
Mm-hmm.
Not kidding. The guy's moniker was Alan Wrench. So he's somebody else that's, possibly implicated in it. Some people say it was the friend Dylan, who's a longtime best friend of Kurt, but we know Courtney is so manipulative. She's a master manipulator.
He had issues with his friends. Okay. Yeah. Totally. He had issues with everybody. He had a lot of enemies, a lot of hidden enemies, and a lot of drama with power struggles, issues, ego problems with his friends. Because this part of Virgo is like a perfectionist. When his work, even though he had this dark art side, he still wanted it to be perfect. So if anybody got in the way of what he wanted and what his vision was, because it was what he believed. This is where just to show everybody and to help, it was all about benefiting others. There was no bad, shady agendas here. It was literally all good intentions. So I will say that there's nothing about him that was like this screwed up hot mess that has a moon conjunct Rahu in the, okay, you know who does have that? Courtney Love. Okay. Wait till you see this. It's so crazy. And all of these stories totally match up. Money, inheritances. I'm going to tell you that she is so all about money. I don't know what a handler is. Okay. So I don't know what that means, but so why don't you tell me what that means real quick?
Well, okay. So a handler it's a commonly known term that people use to describe somebody who either knowingly or unknowingly is in control, either financially in control, emotionally, mentally, or physically in control of a subject. That subject is usually of interest to one or more of the intelligence agencies that we're aware of. And so basically what I'm suggesting, and I'm not the first and I'm not the only one to suggest, that Kurt Cobain, along with many like him, along with many in his position, is considered an asset, a political asset, a social asset, a government asset. They do this. This is what they do in order to try to control these icons they infiltrate their inner circles with people that we call handlers. Okay. And I'm sure, you know, not all handlers are aware that they're handlers. Okay. They're all very compartmentalized. I don't think for one second that Courtney Love hasn't been subjected to quite a bit of abuse herself. I think that this is just a huge circle of tortured people. But in any case, you know, I look at Courtney Love, I observe her, you know, I am a reader and I trust myself above all other sources. She strikes me as somebody that has absolutely no thought of anybody else other than herself. From the day that she was born. Some people are just like that. And I think that for her, it was not only about money and not only about being set up, because in the event that the divorce between them went through, she would be left with nothing. She would be the disgraced ex-wife, and, you know, Kurt would probably live on and remarry somebody that was worthy, and be happy. And she would just be the asshole that, you know, tried to ruin his life. For her, it was about power. And so much so that I think that maybe even she was controlled to have Kurt taken out. It's kind of like with Elvis. When you take out, when the collective psyche experiences the loss of somebody like Elvis or Lane Staley or Kurt Cobain, and I'm not suggesting that Lane Staley died under any strange circumstances. I believe he really did overdose. He's the lead singer of Alice in Chains, by the way. But, you know, when the collective psyche experiences a trauma like that, it changes the trajectory of the human, of the herd. It changes the political environment, the social environment, entertainment. You know, that's why they do these sacrifices.
Let's real quick, let's go with how quickly, like, he was cremated. Okay, he was cremated within seconds. Like, there was no fingerprints. All that sketchy, like the actual facts, you know, first, there's so many conflicting stories of, like, in the real case file, right? Or whatever. There's all these documentaries. One person said that the cops found, and the other person says an electrician found. There's so many multiple, you know, issues that I don't know how people haven't, like, looked into this. Not to mention Mars K2 conjunct. Mars is weapons. K2, he had it in the first house, maybe he could have killed himself. But Mars and K2 in the third house, that is not, you are going to be killed by a weapon, but not from your own body. I believe you're not. Like, from your own self. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah.
And whether she's a handler, you know, part of the whole elite thing, you know, I'm sure she is. She definitely has. But here's the thing. Everybody knows how I go into these nikshatras. All these nikshatras are the same nikshatras that the Podestas, that the Clintons, that the Pope has, all these high circles, these elites, all of them have it. They all have this. Okay, so there's some sort of correlation, whether it be, you know, just a coincidence in the charts, that's when they're born, or there is some, you know, it's definitely there. I mean, let me show you her chart, okay? She's a Libra ascendant. Libra in the nikshatra of Chitra, which is kind of like, you know, rise in fame. It's definitely somebody that goes through, you know, has that kind of rise in fame. I mean,
wait, someone just said something, and I wanted to repeat it. Someone just said that and this is true, and this is important, the amount of heroin concluded by the toxicology report that was in his system at the time of death would have rendered him completely incapable to probably even lift a gun, let alone turn that shit around and blow his own fucking head off. Yeah. So, and these are things the Seattle PD came in on this investigation. There was this just crazy cooperation going on. Don't think for 1 second that the police departments can be trusted entirely to handle these investigations from a neutral perspective and that they cover all bases. Bullshit. I don't buy that for 1 second. So people are like, oh, you know, the official report. Nobody really believes the official report. So yeah. I just wanted to say that and acknowledge that slightly important fact.
Yeah, I mean, that's very important because that's when I listened to the documentary the first time, I just said to myself, logistically, okay, if you're on heroin, I've seen people overdose. I've seen, you know, when they show it on ID TV and all that stuff or whatever. You can see like people can't even move. Okay, if he had that much heroin in him, it's impossible. Like it really is. There were no. Don't you think it's weird that there were no fingerprints on the gun? That would have been a mess. How are there no fingerprints on the gun with somebody that was that smooth? They also said that the 2 handprints on the letters could have been their different handprints. That's the first thing. I noticed these things I mean, this is where my Scorpio Mars K2 in the first house. One good thing I am good at is investigating things. I know it's stuff that's like common sense that people are like, there's cover-ups here. It's all 8th house stuff. It's all secrets. But look, okay, so she's got a Libra ascendant. Okay. Let's just look at her moon. Her moon is with Sun and Rahu. Rahu is in Ardra. Moon is in Purnavasu, which actually that kind of like makes it a little bit better. But the fact that Rahu is sitting there with the Sun, power, authority, leadership, ego, with the moon, emotions. 9th house is all about father. That's where the issues with the father were as well. And then if you look at her 8th house, what's the 8th house? Death. She's got Mars and Venus conjunct in the 8th house in Taurus. That's somebody, she probably had a lot of issues, like she could have been sexually molested. She could have been raped. Like it's not an easy thing. So, you know, there could have been things and situations in her life that had to do with this too. But, you know, eventually Mars and Venus in the 8th house in Rohini, that's all about pleasure. Mars conjunct Venus you are obsessed. You're with that.
And I got to tell you, I mean, I know that, you know, if you've probably never listened to any of her music. I mean, she had a band named Hole, for crying out loud. Hole. Hole. Okay. And, you know, I actually happen to, some of her music is, you know, I love it. I think that some of it's really, really good, nice to listen to. However, she is being very clear to us in her lyrics about who and what she is. She's very open about the fact that she is just 10 different flavors of messed up, that she can never be trusted. She will always let people down. And, you know, what is a hole? A hole is a place where, you know, things go. I feel like she's just this like vortex that swallows people up. She's an extremely destructive program. You know, I was just shuffling, you know, messing with my cards just now, and I pulled the Tower as you're expounding on her chart here. And in general, some people are born with that destructive undertone, overtone, just all throughout. She is an example of one of those people that is a destructive force on this planet. Does that make her inherently evil or bad? I don't know. We'd have to define evil. We'd have to define good. And we don't need to do that. But, you know, I think in general, she is implicated in the death of Kurt Cobain in some capacity. And I wonder if we'll see the case officially reopened. I think it can't be because of the evidence. There's no evidence anymore. You tell me if you think that's by chance or by design.
Right.
But in any case, I think that she's just a real problem. And the daughter, Frances, she's taken a real liking to the satanic culture in Hollywood. She's been widely received. You know, she takes pictures with people, you know, people like Jack Black and, you know, all those very kind of quintessential satanic Hollywood faces that we're familiar with. And so, you know, I feel like Courtney Love probably handled her daughter too and got her on this trajectory. It's dark. Dark does not equate evil, but we're trying to look at patterns here. Patterns that will eventually reveal to us answers and, you know, a formula, something that can be depended on to create, you know, real answers. And in general, Courtney Love's patterns are just disastrous.
Yeah. And it's there. I mean, whether she, you know, so I always look at things, the reason why I like astrology is to forgive people and to move on. So, because it pretty much, there's a lot of bad people in the world, and you have to look at it like, I like to investigate crimes and criminals, because I feel like sometimes, like I say, if you don't know your astrology chart and you don't know these things, this is where people take the wrong paths. This is where a serial killer turns into a surgeon, vice versa. So there's a lot of things that I feel like they're sometimes out of people's control that do affect, their judgment and what happens to them if they don't know and they don't understand why they are the way they are. I mean, there's a lot of that. So I'm not somebody that will sit around and say, oh, whatever. I mean, I'm looking at this as probably as objectively as they get. So right. It seems to me like now I don't trust anybody in the freaking public. I mean, it's scary besides Donald Trump. Sorry, I had to say that because his chart is not like any of their other, like the charts. He doesn't have these nakshatras like all these other people, which is why I know that he's different than most of them. And he's like, he was a mistake. Okay. So I just do believe that there is some connection with everybody. Now, what it is, I don't know 100%, but it is what it is.
Yeah. There's one thing I wanted to add really quick that I meant to touch on before, but the other guy that, no, it's not a Yeti cup. It's not that cool, Heather. Oh, by the way, I am reading the comments. Every last word.
What are they saying?
No, somebody asked, or do you either want to read the comments? So I'm just trying to be real creepy now. Like, yep, I'm watching everything. No, but one of the people that's implicated as a suspect, and obviously not formally or officially, but in culture and just researchers and over the past 20 something years, a guy named Alan Wrench. Like, I don't know if that's his birth name or whatever, but I Googled Alan Wrench. And Allen wrench is an actual tool. I know this, an Allen wrench. This is why it's funny.
Oh, that's so funny.
And it's also known as a hex key. It's another name for an Allen wrench is a hex key. And I know that these little things are so, like what's that movie, National Treasure, where it's like crack the code, every little number and word and all that stuff means things. But just put your tinfoil hat on for just a second. And it feels to me like if we can try to compare the death of Kurt Cobain to other deaths, high profile deaths that were just shocking and traumatizing, it is a form of black magic being bestowed upon the masses. For what purpose, we're not clear about right now. But when you have the role in a ritual, in a ritualistic sacrifice, you have the executioner, you have the person, the woman, the man, or the child. And yes, I said child because these people are fucked up and they do that sort of stuff. And they have the role of the person or the people that holds the weapon, or whatever it is, the blade, the weapon, whatever it is, they're the executioner. And I imagine that, a sacrifice is something quite of a hex. It's a curse. It's a very dark ritual. There's a lot of nasty things involved. And Allen Wrench being the executioner or the key to the hex key. And I know that's just kind of like really reaching, but this is how my mind works sometimes. And I felt like I needed to share that. And I found that interesting. Because the role of executioner or the role of reaper in any ritual is quite a key point, a key role in any, and when we talk about rituals, I mean, the Super Bowl is a ritual. You know what I mean? Making coffee in the morning is a form of ritual. Talking crap about somebody behind their back is a type of ritual. So ritual is a very loosely defined word. But I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, and in astrology, there's definitely a lot of rituals connected to these charts. So, a lot of people like to get on and say, oh, you can't get, I'm not going to get into like stuff that I can get into because we don't know this time for sure, Right. So it's like to sit here and say and show you guys everything you have to look at. I mean, because when you read an astrology chart, which this is what I was doing in the past 2 hours, was really analyzing it. I mean, you have to look at aspects. You have to look at, degrees of planets. You have to look at how they're sitting. You have to look at transits. You have to look at the Shadbala, the strength. So there's so many things that, like, I'm not going to sit up here and explain because A, a lot of people may not understand it. B, divisional charts change within minutes. So if those times are off or something's wrong, you can't look at divisional charts. You can't look at the D60. You can't look at the D30, the Tremonts, that shows all those issues with enemies and stuff. You can't look at the spouse. You can't, I mean, it's so, you have to take this and do it as about as basic as it gets. But even just as basic as it gets, it's pretty clear. That's kind of the funny part about it. So.
Lord mercy, Heidi. Lord mercy. The things we get ourselves into.
I know. I swear though, like when I just know, like I know the minute I saw the chart within 5 seconds at the transits at the time, I knew it. Like I didn't even really need to reconfirm it all. And that's just my intuition because I can smell like the sketchiness, the shadiness, the bad people within seconds. It's very simple.
Yeah. I'm the same way. I mean, sometimes I will say though, people have fooled me before because I'm like,
I've never been fooled. Not once in my life have I been fooled. Never. If anything,
that's good to know though.
Yeah.
I mean,
but I will say this, it can be, being a Scorpio ascendant with Mars and Ketu, you don't trust anybody. It's like you have to prove to you that you're, that's how it works. And whether I'm a Scorpio ascendant or a Sagittarius, all my nakshatras are the same. And they're all investigating nakshatras. They're all Ketu and it's all Mars and it's all, so that's just me. I mean, it just is what it is. I should have been a detective, hands down.
You are a detective. You're an astrological detective. You're a paranormal detective.
Yeah.
Oh my God, so funny.
But what you do, Jenny, and how you say about the other stuff, like you can see all that too here, like bringing out those demons in charts is something usually astrologers don't dabble in because it's so like, I mean, not a lot of astrologers will sit here and talk about like child pedophilia and stuff and all the horrible shit that goes on, So the fact of the matter is, you and I do that. Now I see that in charts way more apparent than I would have before, where I would have thought, K2 conjunct Jupiter in the 5th house would mean something. It could mean something completely different. So it's opened up my eyes to a whole other side of astrology with these nakshatras, with the planets. I mean, it's just pretty interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I almost feel like we're doing something that's like kind of forbidden sometimes. Because I'm just like, oh God, like we're using their own constructs kind of against them. Not that astrology and tarot belongs to them, but they certainly don't intend for it to be used this way to bring truth forward. They like to use it as a tool to hide things, which is actually something that I've thought about. And when we look for the date of birth for a lot of people, politicians, I've actually had the thought that they change it because they're actually working constantly in defense mode. So they're thinking we need to defend our true identities, defend our true weaknesses. So let's just give them fake birthdays in case, there's the occasional astrologer that wants to poke around and find, a chink in the armor or something like that. But again, I'm so skeptic. I have such I guess I just have this like just enormous cloak of paranoia. I always think that everybody has like, it's all a conspiracy, Heidi. It's all a freaking show.
But the thing is, he knew that too. I will say that Kurt and I have one common connection. We have his ascendant is on my son is in Uttara Falguni. So between that and like, it's like I'm bringing that to light. There's a connection with all these charts that I've done that I have exposed people, like the Elvis chart. There's a big connection there, and with and look at your moon. Your moon is in Ardra like his.
Well, and my son and Kurt Cobain share the same birthday.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, and my entire life, I've loved Kurt. Like, I can see his eyes right now. Like, he's been a fixture in my life since I can remember, since I could listen to music.
Yeah.
I love him. I truly love Kurt Cobain. I love him like a friend, like a brother. Like, I love him so much.
He
So
was a
that's
good
why.
guy. Like he really was. And
Oh, yeah.
he was a perfectionist, a good guy, perfectionist of his art, a perfectionist of that kind of stuff. He was not what they're portraying him to be, like this completely emotional lunatic. No, he had pain. He got into the wrong things. He got into the wrong, and wouldn't have killed himself. I can tell you, like this is one of the charts that I can look at, and it's not even a maybe. This man did not intentionally, if he overdosed because he took too many drugs, okay. But did he intentionally do that and then kill himself? Don't think shoot himself in the head? Absolutely not. He has a fear of fire, guns, a fear of this kind of stuff. I have Mars and K2 conjunct in my first house. We have this in together. Like I know all about Mars and K2 conjunct. I know that that's not what he does.
Well, and also, the nanny, I watched an interview with the nanny, one of their nannies that they had, but it was the last nanny they had before Kurt's death. And she was just like, he was such a great dad and he loved that baby so much. And he had such a loving, caring, nurturing disposition. He wanted to just hold that baby, cuddle that baby, enjoy the time. But Courtney actually did what she could to weaken the father-daughter bond. She was saying that he was so caring, but he wasn't allowed to be as caring as he truly was because she controlled him every minute of every day. And I'm sure somebody with the kind of mindset that she had, it was all about power and having the upper hand and leverage and manipulation. As it's always about Courtney. At the end of the freaking day, it's all about Courtney. I can see her trying to weaken that relationship and kind of push the two of them away. Kurt wouldn't have killed himself, even if it was just the absolute. I mean, I don't know. I can't say that because he probably did have depression. He was an artist. Lots of artists have depression, but he loved that kid. He loved his baby. You know what I mean? That's reason enough not to kill yourself.
No, you're right. But I'm going to tell you another thing. Jupiter in the 12th, he has Jupiter in the 12th house. So the 12th house is hidden enemies. Okay. And Courtney is signified in his chart by Jupiter and sitting in that 12th house. You have to understand that. But Jupiter is also your children. Okay. Jupiter is also anybody that has Jupiter in the 12th house. I have probably asked them if they had a children that passed away, they've had an abortion, if they've had a child that passed away, or was taken from them. One of the things that I will say that was in the karma was in, like, if he would have been alive, she would have stolen that child from him and tried to take custody.
Yes.
So that's definitely there. And, so there's a lot of things going on with this chart and with her chart, even the daughter, I looked at her chart and the daughter has an affinity to her father. Like it's a nice connection. She is the same ascendant as him with Venus, Sun, and she's a good person. Her moon is in Revisted like me and like your ascendant. So I know she does have a good side, but guess what? She has Mars in the 10th house in Rohini, which is all about that pleasure, getting into that. I really do believe Rohini Nakshatra that's the Nakshatra that tends to go, that and the Purva Bhattapadra, the Uttara Bhattapadra, those three Nakshatras are the ones that go into that whole pleasure sex thing, whether it be
that cult shit. Yeah.
And then the Athleisha, the snake thing, that's more political. Like that's more political power. Like, so I'm just noticing all these trends and it's crazy. It's really crazy because I can see that both in her chart and the daughter's chart, like she's in a way torn. If her father was around, she wouldn't have went that route.
Right.
And if we talk about the dashas that Kurt was in, he was in a Saturn moon dasha. Regardless, he doesn't have depression. In my opinion, it's more of he was influenced by his groups, networks, people, groups, friends that made him do that. And it was all about that 11th house, third house things. There was no enemies and hidden enemies. Even if you look at his transits from the moon that day, it was K2 was in the 12th. And so Rahu was in the 6th. It's like, it's all there for, it was not him like suicide. It was more external things happening to him. If you have a ton of planets in the 1st house, yes, you're more inclined because you're more selfish to do something to yourself, but not this. He was more focused on helping others, serving others, just doing that kind of stuff.
I wish that I had those rods because I would use them.
I know. Let me pull a card.
Go for it.
Okay. This is the last thing we're going to say about this.
And then we're going to do readings.
Yeah, we'll do a few.
Okay.
Oh, the 3 of rods. Speaking of rods.
You mean wands?
Wands, yeah. Sorry, I call them rods. The 3, yeah, reversed.
Oh. Okay. Well, I mean, I don't do reversals, but I do.
The Empress. That just looks like her.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So, all right. So like I said, I don't do reversals, but what I do is a version of reversals, which is when something is ill dignified. So it changes the meaning. Okay. So wands being a phallic card, they're active as opposed to passive. The passive is like the cup cards, for example. And the 3 of wands is your favorite card, Heidi.
Surprise. Oh, God.
No. But listen, it's about it. The 3 of wands is like integrity. This is about like not compromising yourself. It is a card of progress. Okay. It's a progressive card. It's an action card moving along, but when it's reversed and then dignified by the Empress, this feels like, okay, so the Empress is Courtney Love in this situation, okay?
Certainly looks like her.
Well, the Empress is the counterpart of the Emperor, okay? And so in their relationship, Kurt did not have the Emperor status. He was controlled by her. She was the Emperor and the Empress. And so this just kind of highlights to me her intentions. The 3 of wands as a card of progression. Now, let's reverse that. It's a devolution. Okay, it's a devolving of progress, and it's moving backwards, and it's about the opposite of integrity, doing the wrong thing, doing all the wrong things when people are looking and when people are not looking. So that actually makes sense to me. I have the Ace of Swords here. This actually could be, though, more than, I don't think this is about Courtney. I think that this is about the whole situation. Obviously the Ace of Swords is about clarity. It's about
it's about what we're doing right now is giving.
Well, that's what I think that it is. It's about clarity. It's the start of something. Always aces are always the start of something. And then, it's such a muddy subject, and there's so many theories and so many things circulating out there. What we're trying to do in essence is cut through a lot of things and go directly to the source. And the source is the stars. Intuition. What is it? Oh no,
because what you just said there, like give rest in, and that's the rest easy card.
That's the 4 of Swords.
Like he can sleep now.
Yes. Well, it is a break. The 4 of Swords is a break. Rest easy. I mean, that really feels, it's also a card of gratitude, because the story behind that is when, before they go off to war, the soldiers, they would buy themselves a burial place, like a coffin or something, and then they would come back, and out of respect for the fact and gratitude for the fact that they're not dead, they would lay down and rest in that same thing that they created, the coffin or the place of burial, the bed, whatever it is. And it's like gratitude, like, oh, I'm not dead yet. So it's the energy of resting. So that makes sense. Maybe this brings the spirit of Kurt at least a little bit of solace. If he's even around, he's probably, all over the place, really. But what we can do is add our voices to the collective and for the benefit of all, because we're not doing this for us. We're doing this because, obviously we love to do it, but, I feel like it helps. It doesn't hinder. Anything to help and not to hinder. We want progress. We want evolution. We don't want to go backwards in life.
Yeah. He also had Rahu and Barini. He understood death, and he was all about higher knowledge and You know, he did say it's crazy because something he did say on this interview that I watched, this random interview, and he was like, you know, if I were to do it all over again, I probably would have been a mortician and or worked in a death in like a cemetery, and so I could understand. So I'm telling you, this guy, this is so his chart because Bahraini is the god of death, and it's also understanding death. I know somebody that has a chart very there's some similarities that is a mortician that does this that has a similar chart, not the similar chart, but similar correlations. So it's kind of interesting. Like when he said that, and I heard that other interview, you know, he just wanted to get his work there out to the masses. It was more just sharing his creative self-expression of how screwed up this world is in a dark way.
Yeah.
So he was like us. He would be sitting here like just talking about conspiracies. That's probably if he didn't have to struggle so much, you know, with, I don't know. It's weird. It's weird.
It is weird, but I think that, I mean, he freaking lives on. I was listening to Nirvana all morning. It's just so good. I know that's not your music.
I know. You know, it's funny. I don't even know one. I mean, I would know the song.
You do. Oh, you do. Yeah. It's ingrained in the collective. I mean, it's so anchored deeply in our consciousness that everybody knows it.
And you know what's funny? When I was studying this outside, and this bee, this big ass bee, came by, and I'm gonna tell you, 2 praying mantises. Did you see those videos with my praying mantises?
I did. Oh my god, I can't even tell you about the synchronicity. I won't even go into it. But that was weird.
So, did you see that I was hand feeding that praying mantis? Like that praying mantis first tried to bite me, and then I tried to feed it. So I fed the praying mantis. He became my friend. He was huge. He was like as big as this part of my finger.
I wouldn't have touched it, I don't think.
Oh my gosh. I was sad that I had to leave. Like I was playing with him all day at work. And it was just so sad because they say praying mantises and bugs all do mean something, but then a big bee, one of the biggest bees I've ever seen, and I'm afraid of bees, when I was outside and I was doing this chart and studying these charts, flew down and like crawled up on the computer screen. And then I went inside because it freaks me out. I didn't want to get stung. Went back outside and it was crawling over the screen, and he was like this big. It was huge. Oh my God. So, but he didn't like go crazy or bite me or sting me or anything. It was almost just like a sign.
It was saying hello.
Yeah, maybe yeah.
Oh my gosh.
All right, so let's go with some charts, Jenny. And you said somebody donated, so let's do that chart.
Yeah.
Do that person's chart though. I feel like that.
I feel like we did. We did. Warrior Princess, if you're here, if you're still here, raise your hand. If not, we can actually, somebody donated, I believe his name was Nick.
Yeah, so we're gonna do the ones that have donated first, obviously.
Yeah. So if you're still watching, please submit your birth information.
There is one chart I promised somebody I would do, which is he's always supports us. So, and he sent me a message, and because he lives in another country, and so I'm gonna do this one chart real quick. This is 8363. Go figure. You're a Scorpio, send it like me. And the nakshatra of Anuradha. So Anuradha is all about being a good friend. It's a good manager, a good business person, somebody that's a good leader, somebody that sees numbers, patterns, somebody that's definitely, all about just everything I said. Read my Scorpio series. Watch every one of those videos.
Do you have a pen and paper?
Yes.
Because I don't. Heather, can you give me your detailed birth information? We need location, day, time, month, and obviously it's attached to your name. And then
AM or PM.
Right, AM or PM. Be specific. The time is really, really important.
Okay.
Nicholas Tracy, we also need your birth information, bud.
Okay, so back to this chart. This person has Moon conjunct K2, and it's so crazy because the past 3 days I've done readings for everybody that has Moon conjunct K2. And it's just definitely somebody that can be detached easily. It can be a lot of ups and downs with emotions, but when it's conjunct K2 in the second house, this is more of a family things, or maybe young. It's the second house is, your family when you were younger, and some deep rooted things. So when you have Moon conjunct K2 there's a lot of like duty and responsibility and kind of past rooted deep issues with the mother, family stuff, money, it's possessions, speaking. It's also speaking singers and food. It's also, some obstacles of the father. It's like a rough house. So there could be some ups and downs with money when you're younger, but it can definitely make you make money. It just makes you feel like you have to be responsible for a lot of things. Did you get any of those birthdays?
Yeah, I did. I just didn't want to interrupt you. But we have Nicholas Tracy, 4/3/1987,
Mm-hmm.
in Washington, Missouri,
Mm-hmm.
at 11:56 p.m.
Okay.
And Heather, I don't know if you put yours in there, but I won't it. I've been wanting to do Heather's for a while. Heather, by the way, you guys, Heather is a really good friend of mine. She's in the chat right now. She's awesome. And I keep forgetting to do these.
Okay, so, oh gosh, this is like the Scorpio. Oh my gosh, this guy is, what?
Oh, I'm having like super weird pains in my hands.
4/3/87, Washington, Missouri.
Yeah. Wait, was it 4? Hold on, everybody. Oh, okay. Heather, can you write it down?
Yeah.
I'm pulling a Rex right now.
Yeah, I know. Okay, God. No,
okay. So it's Heather is 1/20/81. Fort Sill, so just FT.
Okay, you got to tell me what cities these forts are in, because they don't.
I'm going Fort Sill, Oklahoma.
Because the forts don't come up like that.
Oh, Lord mercy. Okay, yeah. Okay, 1:21 p.m. Heather, can you tell us what city?
Okay, 1/20/1981, Oklahoma.
Still waiting.
Okay, so both Scorpios. So the guy did before and this person, both of you are Scorpio ascendants, so definitely people that are, hidden. It's stuff that has involved with secrets, hidden stuff. It's people that are very deep, passionate, wisdom. It's all about knowing everything, knowing the secrets. Both of you two are also natural investigators like myself. But you also make a good manager, good leader. Scorpios are just hard workers. They just, they just don't lie to them. They'll be your friend. Just don't be disloyal to them. Very focused on sex and connecting through like Kundalini sex. But this person, Nick, or 4/3/1987, you have Saturn in the first house, which makes you more like all business. Like you're very disciplined. Sometimes maybe you grew up fast. You might not be, how do I say this? You really like to be in control, big controlling things. Saturn in the first also can make you'll live a long life because Saturn gives you longevity, but it can make you take on a lot of responsibilities, a lot of worldly responsibilities, a lot of, sometimes it's not that easy. There's a lot, it's like when's the next shoe gonna drop type of thing. So did you get the other birthdays?
I did. Hold on. Lawton, Lawton.
Lawton.
Yes.
All right. So, and then also you have Mercury and Venus together. Definitely there's a lot of music and creativity all over your chart. 4th house, 5th house. So and you have the Rahu and Revati, Sun and Revati, Jupiter and Revati in the 5th house. This is like all about The fifth house is it's business, it's intelligence, but it's also writing, it's investing, it's anything about creativity. Anything about creativity. So and Mercury and Venus is somebody that can like a really good artist, like a writer, artist, healer, you know, type of thing. But and you work with your hands, maybe. You need to work by yourself because.
Well, Saturn in the first house, I feel like you can't take orders.
Yeah.
You are the structure. It's like the structure is ingrained. So you have your own beat, your own system, that kind of internal, like self-organizing system. I know people like that. I'm the opposite. Okay. I don't have a self-organizing system. I'm just a puddle of all kinds of stuff, but I could use some Saturn influence in my life.
One thing I'm going to say too with this person is you have Moon conjunct Mars. Okay. So Moon conjunct Mars in the 7th house. That's extremely like involved in relationships, or, you know, so it's Moon conjunct Mars, can be some hot-headedness. It can also be like power struggles with the mother sometimes, or maybe overbearing mother with your mother, or relationships. It just can be. It doesn't necessarily always be, but.
Wait a second. Heidi, who are we doing right now?
We're doing the same. We're doing 4-3-87. The first.
I knew it. Okay, Heather, we're not. We're still on 4-3-87. We're still on Nicholas Tracy.
Yeah.
We're gonna take a few minutes for each person, and then when we transition to the next, we'll let you guys know. Sorry, that kind of confused me too. Aloha, thank you for your donation.
Okay, so then you have, and then also I would say you could spend money on relationships, or you can spend money on women easily. There can definitely be some power struggles, like emotional power struggles with women. Well, we have that in the charts with, you know, being Scorpios. There's always drama with relationships, so it's just there. And I just see music and creativity all over your chart, and like online stuff, things doing broadcasting, stuff like this. Or
right, that makes sense actually.
And then pull a card for Scorpio. We've had a rough few years. All Scorpio ascendants. We had oh man, you really had a rough 2 years because you just had your Saturn return in your first house, and it's almost done. Oh God. Yeah.
It's almost done. You're almost there.
You're almost there. Saturn's at 20. Oh my gosh, it's at 27 degrees, and your Saturn is at 27 degrees, and your ascendant is at 27 degrees. Okay, you take on the older role, like the eldest one. So you might be the oldest, or even if you have an older sibling, you still take on like that older role. Your ascendant nakshatra is in Jesta. Jesta is all about it. There can be some like controlling issues, you know, here and there, because we like to be in charge. We like to be in the lead, and we don't like to follow. But it's a lot of responsibilities. But transits go through, you probably had some 10th house things, career. That's what you've been dealing with, possibly some change with career, people, you know, things like that. Saturn returns. This is right on your Saturn, like right as we speak. So big endings and rebirth, like changes, big changes. Yeah. You guys felt like complete shit the past 2 years. It's been rough. And you always have Saturn in your, I was talking to somebody doing a reading last night, and I said, you know, you're probably so Saturnized anyway. When you have Saturn in the first house, it's like Saturn return. What the, you know, you're just going to have just another day because you have Saturn in the first house anyway. But I would say with this, you know, it's a lot of change. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of just feeling like shit, tired. Like you just feel like you can't accomplish, like you're in a stuck position, you know? So it's just, and it could have been financially too, ups and downs, hurdles. I'm just telling you that it's moving out, and it's going to be feeling a lot better. So,
well, I feel like I can confirm that because, although we can confirm, because he said, by the way, he's also does vocals and drums and stuff like that. So there is music there. He's also the oldest of 7. Okay. Another thing too, when we kind of look at like what he's coming into, we have the Lovers, the Hierophant, the 7 of Wands, and the Prince of Cups. Now, just so everybody knows, for me, my interpretation of the Prince of Cups, I mean, there's so many, but in general, the Prince of Cups, if there was an invitation here to work on some behavioral traits, this has everything to do with emotional maturity, emotional control, because the Prince of Cups tends to be somebody who's a little bit kind of emotionally expressive, maybe even a little bit impulsive, especially here with the Seven of Wands, that the wands and the cups kind of, they change each other's meaning. Okay. That's what my version of reversals. I don't do reversals. I do dignities. So this changes the meaning of both cards quite a bit. And then here with the Lovers and the Hierophant, I mean, those two cards together make me think of weddings, marriages, just because the Hierophant is it's also known as the Pope. So this is clergy, this is religious orders, this is, Boy Scouts, baseball teams, anything that's a collective and patriarchal in nature. And then the Lovers is not always about marriage or always about romantic relationships. Sometimes it is, a lot of times it is. But for this, it kind of feels like it does have something to do with becoming part of a group, becoming part of the collective, because it really is more about the group as opposed to the individual. So that may be, if we're talking about career, that could be coming into a position where you're more of a team member. It's more of an incorporated system as opposed to being on your own. So I don't know if that's something that he wants or something that he needs, because we talked about Saturn being in the first house, really, ideally being your own boss. But for here, it almost looks like it would be a challenge to be a member of a team. Seven of Wands and Prince of Cups. This is kind of like the guy who's like, no, I want to do it my way, and I have my ideas and my opinions and my input. But then the Hierophant encourages us to work as a collective, to work as a group, and that it's okay. You are an individual. Nothing can take that away from you. Oh, military. Duh. That's the Hierophant. Yeah, that's the patriarchal group, the system, the control. It's certainly not about the individual. It's about the collective. So I hope that helps.
Okay. So Heather.
Oh, Heather, time of birth.
I have it. I got it.
Oh, okay.
All right. You have one of those charts that I'm not going to say too much on here because you've got a lot going on. All right.
And Heather does?
Yeah.
All right, Heather, listen up.
Okay. So you're a Taurus ascendant, and if you're Jenny's friend, I can talk to you, after.
Right.
We'll just leave it at that because there's a lot going on here, so there's definitely Taurus ascendant. Tauruses are definitely focused a lot on worry about money, worry about material stuff. They also make really good real estate agents, designers, because, cooks, chefs, anything with the knives, because your ascendant's in the nakshatra of Kritika. Kritika cuts through the details, the BS to get things done. And whether they're literally cutting things up or it's somebody with a wit, like, somebody that's like, they say things that can be kind of critical, but really they're just doing it because they're protecting you. Kritika is the protector. So, there's a lot of, you want to protect everything around you, protect your finances, your love, your relationships. I mean, all that stuff, because the first lord goes into the 8th house, which is in Venus, and maybe even art. You might even be like, this is going to sound crazy, but you could even be good at cutting hair. Okay. Not saying that's what you do, but you're very artistic, I would say. And, for sure, like making women pretty, making women transform, something like that. You could work with something like that. And maybe it's psychologically, who knows, but
well, she's definitely a protector because she's very vocal, increasingly vocal, kind of in the same way that you and I are about some of these issues and stuff.
Well, then your moon is in Cancer, all about, and moon is in Cancer conjunct Rahu though. So definitely can be some issues with the mother, separation from the mother, power struggles with the mother. But Cancers are very close to their mothers usually. So that one always throws me for a loop. I'd have to really look more into that. But there's definitely some family issues, power things with governments, authority figures, all that stuff. I mean, Sun, K2, Mercury, Mars conjunct in the ninth house is a lot of, and it's on government, law, higher education, you know, just that kind of stuff. So it's a lot of intense. This is like where I'd have to really like go into your chart, and I don't want to just ramble things off, but you know, you definitely want to heal people, and you do have a nice, kind heart. You do think with good intentions, you know, but sometimes Rahu can conflict that and be like, oh, really? So your moon conjunct with Rahu can be a lot of ups and downs emotionally, big time. And I would say she's been going through, but you would be a really good salesperson, like really good at communication, really good at writing books, really good at broadcast, same thing, like creative third house stuff, courage, hard work. There could be competitiveness too, like a lot of competition when you don't even like to lose games. You can be very competitive sometimes, but that's good. You know, that's awesome. All right, so you're going to go through.
Yeah, I'm going to look at what's coming up for her right now.
I would say,
yeah, go ahead.
Upcoming, there was fourth house things. Could have been a move, could have been changes with home life, family, happiness. You know, now it's going into the third house, so it can be some state to state traveling. It can be some journalism. It's like communication. Third house is all communications. Also, it's younger siblings. If you have any younger siblings, that moon Rahu can be issues with the siblings. If you have younger siblings too, I don't know if you do, but so I'd say a ninth house, third house, and the ninth house is you're gonna really probably. I don't know what all this is in your ninth house. So this is not a.
Can we talk about ninth house? We don't have to get into detail, but what is for my own refresh me on ninth house.
So the ninth house is long distance journeys. It's religion. It's fortune. It's father. It's also, you can look at it for marriages as well. It's like relationships with meaning. It's also rituals, spiritual stuff, faith, wisdom, PhDs. It's good luck. It's gurus, teachers. I mean, so with you having all this stuff in here, you could have had some sketchy influences in your life with authority figures and all that stuff. So something's coming back to that. Like K2 is going back. You're going to have this natal K2 return. It could have to do with
like memories coming back.
Definitely things from the past, for sure.
Yes. Okay. I'm going to pull a couple cards for you, Heather.
Because this whole big conjunction, I mean, unless you're a teacher, unless you're a, are you in the, is she in the military or something like that?
She has I don't know how much she wants to, well,
see, that's why I know, like.
Yeah, she's not in the military, but I know that she has family. Yeah.
Okay. She's been in sales. So I don't know if I said that, but Ron.
She is in sales, and I believe that she's very successful.
Yeah.
In her sales position. And also from what I understand is
medical sales. Is she in medical sales?
No, I don't believe it's medical. I mean, I think that it actually does have something to do with health. It is health related. It's I believe, when you were explaining to me ninth house energy, I love when you explain it with all of the, what you do it with all the houses. And I love when you do it because all those key words, they hit me like, I can't even, it's like being thrown bits of data and I like eat it. And what that does is it forms this huge energy that I can immerse myself in. And it's an impression. It's a very strong energetic impression I get of an entire influential aspect of life. Okay. So now I have a better feel of ninth house energy. And for Heather in particular, you know, just based on our conversations, obviously, of which I will not get into here, but I know that it fits because she's certainly moving into a time in her life where things are really starting to connect. Pieces are coming together, things that she has always, perhaps things that she hadn't even thought about. Now she's starting to think about it. And a lot of information is going to be kind of rolled out as a result of this new energy, this incoming energy.
Hey, let me read. read you the third house. The third house is initiative, courage, hard work, younger siblings, writing, contracts. So it's sales, you know, it's definitely that. It's documents, short distance journeys, hands, hobbies, fine arts, neighbors, TV, journalism, communication, friends, competition, athletics, working out. Oh my God, this is nuts. How wealth comes through efforts, neighbors, aunts, uncles, moving. It's a lot of that kind of stuff. Spiritual karma. It can be, you know, there's a lot of things said third house, and Rahu's going to be coming in there.
She has to answer the phone, folks.
Turn the damn thing off. Sorry.
Oh shit. All right. Okay, so Heather, I want to talk to you a little bit about what's coming up, okay? We have the 2 of discs, okay, which I really love because the 2s for me always indicate choices, forks in the road, choices, duality. I mean, it means so many things. But the 2 of discs, I feel like it's either a move, something with the career, transformation, change. I mean, the imagery of the 2 of discs is the snake, okay? And the serpent is the ever-changing, you know, it sheds its skin, its life, its death, the cycles of life. And then we have the art card and the emperor. Now, these 2 together are very interesting for you because the emperor being about, I mean, many, many things. We can't pin it down. But for example, structure, the patriarchy, law, fatherhood, fathers. We were talking about the 9th house. There's a lot of male authoritative energy, things with the father, things with mentors and gurus and teachers and authority figures throughout the lifetime. And then the art card really ties all that together because the art card for me, also known as temperance, is about integration. So we're looking at this. These are rules. These are memories. These are establishments. These are structures. These are solid, tangible things. Whereas the Empress or the feminine counterpart of this card is more about things that are a little bit more fluid, not as fixed. And then this is about integration. So I feel like the 2 of these together are about putting pieces together, integrating and applying lessons that we've learned, data that we've acquired about the control structures in our lives. So I just feel like she's kind of in this investigative mode right now. Digging. It's just part of the karmic theme of her life too. And then we have the 7 of Cups and the 4 of Wands, which I mean, what really stood out to me were these first 3 cards. These last 2 cards have a little bit to do with what comes down the line. 4 of Wands is a nice card. It's about small victories, small celebrations, birthday parties, Thanksgiving dinner, stuff like that. 7 of Cups is a little bit different. It is more about illusion, sometimes giving into illusion. Sometimes it's a period of time where you kind of entertain something for the sake of entertaining something because it's easier. And Heather, we'll talk. Heather, you can give me a call and we can talk.
Okay, the warrior princess. I'm gonna do that, but
okay,
just because, but I know we did your chart.
Yeah, I know that we did, but that's okay.
So I guess we're gonna look at. Shit, let me check my email because Shreveport. Why is this city? SHREVE. No N.
Okay. We're gonna, maybe next week we should do an extra show, Heidi, where we do just reading because I feel pretty bad. There's a lot of people that want readings that have been wanting readings that we can't get to.
It's just tough, guys, with the time. So we have to, I mean, we've done a lot of charts with readings, and then people say, why don't you do more charts on other things and not just readings? So we do as best as we can. All right. So you're Taurus ascendant too. So you're going to deal with the same stuff coming up. Same stuff transiting wise is that, going on. You have the K2 Venus conjunct in the first. lots of, gosh, this is crazy. Hold on. Let's go with, maybe you can just pull some cards for give her some guidance right now, because I already did the chart, like how I can do it on air, you know?
Yeah, no, I get that.
Why don't you pull a couple cards for efforts, hard work, new hobbies, new things, all that third house, same stuff that I just said, that's what's upcoming for you. So maybe there was some change in career, change in things like that. Now we're moving on to this ninth house stuff. K2's going into your ninth house, Rahu's going into your third, conjuncting your moon and Mars. So emotionally, you're going to feel a little unstable. So you got to just be calm. But you're probably okay. You're probably okay with K2 and Venus conjuncting the first. You'd be really good at anything finances, like dealing with people's money, believe it or not. I mean, just this is good stuff. There's heavy focuses on relationships that you've been dealing with. So Saturn going into the eighth house, it's going to be a lot of endings, new rebirths, changes, investigations.
All right. So I did this a little bit, on the fly. Okay. So I decided what I wanted to focus on was 2 cards to indicate what her strengths are and what she needs to focus on. Always for the best outcome, always for the benefit of the client or the querent, whatever you want to call them. And then 2 cards to indicate what she should not focus on right now. And this is pretty self-explanatory, honestly, because we have the 3 of Cups and the Moon here to represent what she should focus on and what her strengths are. 3 of Cups is a card of celebration, a card of satisfaction. This is the card of coming together, celebrations. It's a very feminine card, women in groups. There's alcohol. A lot of times this makes me think of pleasurable things, shopping, alcohol, spa trips, things like that. Very feminine, very, it's very grouped too. It's like being around people that are important to you. And then the Moon card further emphasizes the pleasurable nature of this. So really this feels like, to me, this is an invitation for you to enjoy, to kind of let go and kind of enjoy yourself, and maybe for the first time in a long time, give into some of these more pleasurable, these activities or events and things like that, things that you might not treat yourself to, but it really does feel like, treat yourself. And then when I look over here at things that we should avoid, interestingly enough, we have a Knight who could either represent an actual person or a mentality. And then the Hanged Man. I want to say, intuitively speaking, that this is okay. So intuitively, right off the bat, I thought it was a guy, and I was like, oh, avoid him, because a guy that presents himself with the Hanged Man in a position to indicate what that person should avoid. That's like giving your all to somebody, putting it all on the line for a guy. And really that martyr archetype, that martyr energy, where it's like you're willing to sacrifice all kinds of things to have this person in your life. Or it could be the idea. The Knight of Discs as a mentality is a very diligent person, a very steadfast, practical, logical person. And it could be the stark contrast between these 2 sets of cards right now is that one is very dreamy and sensual, and then one is very practical, logical, and would require you to sacrifice a lot of the things that feel good for things that you think that you need. So my message to you is to quite simply do what feels good, a lot of relaxation, treating yourself, letting yourself go with your emotional, not your emotional impulses, because I'm not encouraging you to be bipolar or anything, but to not fight the emotional pulls that you have, and instead, go overwork yourself, or, get your mind all wrapped up in stuff that's very practical and logical, and, getting too sucked into work and stuff like that. So I hope that helps you.
Okay. I'm just getting confused because a lot of people are like, I swear this other person just donated, and then I think I already did a reading, like a mini reading on here. So, I don't know how to handle this. All right.
Well, here's the thing.
Give me some advice, Jenny.
Well, what we can do then is I'll give you a break with the astrology charts, and I'll just do readings.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I don't actually know. Okay, so if here's the thing, this is what we'll do, you guys. Everybody listen to me right now. If you have already had your chart read on the air and you donate and ask to have further information, it will be strictly tarot. It won't be the chart. Okay. So if you want to have an astrology reading and a tarot reading, those who donate will be tended to first. But if you have already had an astrology reading, whether you paid for it or not, if you've already had an astrology reading live and whether you've paid for it or not, if you choose to donate again, you will be tended to, but it won't be astrology, it will be tarot. Because there's only so much that Heidi can extract from the charts on the fly like that. She's seen it before. But tarot, as opposed to astrology, tarot is, and not to say that astrology can't be real time, but these readings are real time.
So guys, when I do a reading for somebody, I mean, I study the chart prior. The reading's an hour long. This is literally just people that don't want to pay for it, that, you know, obviously now we're turning into this donation thing, which is kind of changing things a little bit because that's what we're going to focus on. If somebody donates, we're going to do that quicker, obviously, you know, because they would probably get mad if we didn't. So,
okay. You know. So Deborah Tucker, donated.
Right.
So, Deborah, if you're still here, if you're still listening, if you could give me your birthday, I mean, I don't need it.
12/5/1963.
It helps me quite a bit. Anybody that's had a reading with me knows I don't need to see your face. All I ask is that you speak your name over the phone during a reading. It helps me quite a bit to make that connection. But since I cannot see you or hear you here live.
Okay, I'm going to tell you about Deborah, what she's going through. Okay. Definitely Rahu's going into her first house. This is big transformation emotionally on her. She's a Cancer ascendant with, you know, Moon in the first house. So very emotional, very passionate, you know, all this stuff. Rahu's coming over and conjuncting on the Moon. So mother, first house things, first house, seventh house relationships. It can also just be, you know, it doesn't always need to be relationships. It could just be new starts, you know, new change.
Well, she says she doesn't want one, but I'm going to give her one anyways.
And go with Saturn in the 6th. This, you know what, Saturn on Sun could have been things with children, creativity, Sun power, bosses. I'm
gonna look at strength. I'm gonna look at, you know, strength, something to focus on, and then what to avoid, what to deflect. That, to me, I've found that really kind of simplifies things, because there's so many things that we can look at, but, you know, to keep things simple, it's like, okay, what should what should your focus be on right now? What, you know, what's the message that's important right now? Perfect. Deborah, this is for you. Okay. So, real quick, stuff to avoid. The Two of Wands, intuitively speaking, I think that this is some kind of a, what's that word? When two things meet and they repel each other. This is an adversarial relationship. This is an adversarial mentality over here. So I don't know if it's a person that you do not get along with, or an entire ideal or a concept that you seem to make, you seem to put a lot of energy into feeding this warlike energy. The Two of Wands is a warlike energy, okay? It's dominion. So this is either a really solid matchup of two people or two concepts coming together to create something amazing and full of velocity, or it's the exact opposite and it's about an adversarial relationship where there's a lot of fighting. And the sun makes me think that there's a lot of energy being put into this, whether you're conscious of it or not. So avoid the fighting, avoid the things that kind of, hold on just a second. This is interesting because we have a lot of twos here. So over here we have the Two of Wands. This is what to avoid. And then over here we have the Two of Discs and the Ace of Wands. So this is, all right, so there's definitely a new hobby, okay? Because Two of Discs is about decisions, material things, movement, change, work, career, shedding of skin, coming into something different, while the Ace of Wands on top of that is even more of an emphasis on something that comes in like a wrecking ball, if you will. There's so much, you know, force here. There's a lot of passion, a lot of energy. And so it's almost like there are two things that get her really fired up. One is constructive and one is not. And you simply need to pay attention to what gives you joy. What gives you joy is where you need to focus your attention, and what stresses you out and makes you want to fight, just leave that alone. I'm sorry it's so simple, but unfortunately, you guys, the answers are usually more simple than we care to.
You said shedding of skin to two people, right? The reading with Heather and this person and Deborah. Like I have so many Deborahs in my life. You would die if you heard how many Deborahs I know. And my mom's name is Debbie. So let me just say this. Your ascendant and your moon is in the first house in Aslacia. Aslacia is the snake. It's the serpent. So it's funny, like you bring up this shedding skin. And my sister, this looks like my sister's chart in a way too, you know, and Cancer ascendants they just get really irritable easily. Like, I mean, it's not so much because they take everything very personally, you know, just very emotionally. Cancers can really, you know, they're kind of rough around the edges. They're hard, like they're the crab. They're hard on the exterior, but they get their feelings hurt. Not so much sappy. It's more like pissy, moody. Like you can get moody easily. Yeah. And it's not a bad thing. And this is the Cancer part that's in Aslacia. It's like goal oriented. Like when you focus on something, it's like balls to the wall. You go after it. So this Rahu is going into your first house, conjuncting your moon. It's going to stir up things with relationships or just other people, partnerships, business partnerships, marriages, all that kind of stuff. But it's not necessarily always bad. You know, it might be you guys have could always be good. I mean, you just might have better opportunities. You know, it could just, it's not always bad. Cancers usually are ones that stay in relationships.
Oh, you guys. Okay. Spearhead Transmission is in the chat right now. Spearhead Transmission. I've mentioned them before. Heidi, you know who they are. We've actually done their charts on the air. One chart we had to just like kind of set aside because it was just such a disaster. But I just want to let everybody know, Spearhead Transmission, they have a channel on YouTube. They're really, really great, super funny, really genuine guys. There they are. So everybody head on over there, see what they've got going on. Show them some love, subscribe. I can vouch for them. They're okay. They're all right.
Deborah says I'm moody. That's so funny. My sister is always moody. Like the littlest stuff gets on her nerves. Like parking, when people park, just irritates her. Just when she's driving, just the littlest stuff. It cracks me up. I love Cancers. Cancers are my 9th house, so it's a good house for me. And I'm double water sign. Jenny, you get along with Cancers too. Yeah. You know, I would say that I bet you like dogs too. But, okay. What else? I bet Deborah she might like dogs.
So what's I have to go soon, Heidi.
Okay. All right. Well, let's
it's really funny. Like I'm just in a really funny position in my life without, getting too personal and stuff. We all have things that we have to do, jobs and things like that. And sometimes tarot and astrology is one thing and then life is another thing. Right, Heidi?
Yes.
Well, what you do for a living is very different from what you're truly passionate about.
Right. Yeah. So, and guys, just to let everybody know, we'll wrap this up because I've got 4 readings here after this. So, I have a, like, she has 5 dogs too. That's funny, Deborah.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Okay. So, I have a full-time career. So if I'm horrible at getting back to people I know, and it's on the fly. I'm sorry. Please be patient. Hopefully one day things will change. But, that's kind of my hang up. So our time, we have to either kind of pick, do we do a topic this week or do we read charts? So we'll try to always read a few charts, but maybe next week we'll do, I don't know. Jenny has, kids. She's got a schedule. I have a job. It's a lot of like getting us together the right times. It's kind of tough. So,
well, yeah, but I mean, I know we definitely want to continue with these files, these cases, because it's just so exciting and so much. I feel like karmically speaking, it's really good because we're giving people some attention, some, another look. They deserve it. They all deserve it. So,
and honestly, and if people donate, obviously we're going to look at those charts first because, I know a lot of people like, that's right to do. So if you donate when we're on here, I mean, obviously that's going to be the first charts we do. So,
right. And purely out of principle, because we didn't even know until very recently that donating chats was even a thing. So that certainly wasn't planned that way, but just based on principle and the concept of energy exchange, we're going to honor those that donate first. It just makes sense. So obviously if you guys really, really want a live reading, then what you should really, really do is donate. And it's not, like I said, it's not required. We'll always give readings to, free readings. That's what we've done from the start, since Heidi's had me on. That's what, I've done here. But obviously it makes sense.
Right. And then, if I can get some extra time and come on and do some readings, like I spend so much money on readings for myself, thousands of dollars, just trying to figure myself out. And I know no, not anymore. Obviously not anymore. But I did say that. So I know it's like, you when you're lost, and it's tough. But even I put myself in the hole, like getting astrology readings, just so everybody knows. I know what that's like. So the last thing I want to do is feel like I'm robbing somebody, but I just don't, personally, I can't, I can't do it. I would get fired from my job. If I could sit around and read charts all day, that's what I would love to do.
Yeah.
If I hit the lottery, I promise I would read charts for free for the rest of my life for everybody and give them advice. But like, I have bills, like things, logistics. So, that's going to be how it is from now on. And everybody has to understand it's nothing. And if you don't want to pay for a reading, don't. I mean, don't. It is what it is. Do this. And I mean, that's why we do this. At least it helps people. I feel like if we do this, it helps people, that A, can't afford it, B, are not sure of it. But you have to watch us live. Like you send me an email of your birthday. I'm not writing the birthday. I get thousands of emails. I'm not going to write the birthday down and remember to do it on that show. You have to like either A, you got to put it in the chat when you're and watch it, and it's got to be first, like, because, this happens. So I'm sorry that it didn't work out that way, but that's just how it's got to be.
So, Heidi, what's your website?
My website is one of a kind by Heidi.org. It's all over this YouTube channel.
Is it still the worst website ever?
It's the world's worst website. You're going to put a contact thing. I'm going to maybe respond that day, maybe. And then I'm going to tell you that there's a 4-week wait. It's a horrible system. I know. And I'm sorry, but I can't. Just is what it is.
I honestly
can't. Okay. I'm sorry. It sucks.
No, it's hilarious. It's so freaking funny. Both of us, Heidi and I, both made our websites by ourselves. I mean, wait, did you put it together yourself?
Oh, yeah. Overnight.
Yeah, me too. I mean, well, I wouldn't say overnight, but, neither one of us is, a website designer or anything like that. So we put these websites together. They're totally bare bones minimum, contact us sort of thing. But, my website, I moved from Moonstone Musings. Moonstone Musings is no more as a website. I still have a Facebook page that I haven't touched, which is Moonstone Musings. Haven't logged into that in months. But my new website is jennymoonstone.com. It's a beautiful website, so everybody go over there. I'm also on Facebook. You guys, everybody that's watching right now knows me, like personally. So I don't even know why I bother. Everybody already has like my personal number. Like it's amazing how much our tribe has grown from doing this. So many great connections and so many people that get us and are excited to be a part of what's going on right now. So
one more thing. Jenny's way better at like communicating. Let me just say that I am horrible at communicating. If you text me, I might not respond. Like I might not see it. If you send me a message on Facebook, I'm not going to respond to it probably. It's just, I wish I could. Right now, I am so overwhelmed. I feel like my heart is going to stop on a daily basis. So I just feel really bad because I'm not this type of person that ignores people and doesn't respond. So I just want everybody to know, sincerely, I do apologize. And I'm not ever trying to be rude if I don't answer, or if I answer you short, like with 2 words, or if you say something nice. I just don't want people to think I'm being rude. It's just,
don't lie, Heidi. You know you're a huge bitch.
I can be a huge bitch, but only unless you do something
right.
something shitty to me. So yeah.
No, but I mean, I'm the same way. I am not all that great with communication, but we're getting better. We're getting better because neither one of us was able, this is all very new to us. I wanted to say, if anybody has any suggestions about who we can cover next, I know Heidi, you actually forwarded me a couple really great suggestions about cold case files that we could look into. It's very important that we have the birth time of said individual or said case, because that will allow us to get really, really detailed. So, Heidi, as always, thank you so much.
Readings vary. So I don't give my prices online. I don't do it because it depends what I feel like depends on the situation, what you want to know about. So I do have an option that you can get a webinar scheduled and it will record from Zoom, what we use, and it automatically will download. But, it's just, that's what it is. I'm not giving prices because it varies. Depends on what you want to know. Depends on what you want to talk about. Depends on, how many charts I'm reading, how many things, it depends. And if I gave you a price 3 months ago, that price, it could change. Like it could have changed. So if I sent something, it's just really all over the place right now. So I'm sorry. It's a 4-week wait. Yes, absolutely. 4 weeks.
Oh, wow. That's pretty awesome though. And I wanted to mention, because I think somebody had something to say about my rates. I charge $80. I charge $80 flat rate. And readings like Heidi said, every reading is totally different. I give 10-minute consultations these days so that somebody knows what they can expect and what my process is like. And so in that sense, there is a common thread with all my readings, is that my format stays the same. My format stays consistent. So my readings will run from anywhere from an hour to an hour and 45 minutes. I try not to go past 2 hours because I do have 3 children and a life. And the reason why I charge at all, to be completely honest, because I don't disagree with people who say that tarot readings and psychic intuitive readings could be free, that's something that you could just offer to somebody free of charge. I don't disagree with that. But for me, in my life, in my situation, I am a mother, I am a wife, I have a lot of things that I could be doing with my time. So for me, it's not about my abilities or my skills. It literally is about my time.
Yes.
The energy exchange. I feel that $80 is actually quite reasonable. There are many readers out there that'll charge $125 for an hour flat, and they'll cut
you off at that 45 minutes too, or that hour.
Right. They'll cut you right off.
Yeah.
And so, I just want to encourage people to kind of look at this from all perspectives. I know some people are really kind of strange about the concept of money for readings, but listen, if this was back in the day, I would do readings in exchange for, if you were a farmer, I'd give you a reading and I would get some vegetables or something like that. If you were a carpenter, I would give you all these readings and you could build me a table. So it really is just about even energy exchanges. And I don't feel guilty about it, because if you can't afford a reading, you're not going to get a reading. You know, I don't tell people to spend their last dollar on a reading.
Right.
It's not like that. If you can afford it and it's something that excites you, then go ahead and do it. But if you can't afford it, I would never encourage somebody to spend, you know, their hard-earned money on something that I felt that they didn't truly need, or, you know, priorities, people, priorities.
And another thing, like, I can't tell you how many people have said to me, I'm like stranded in a hole in a bus and somebody's trying to, like, I've heard so many things, and I have like answered the phone, called these people immediately. So it's not like I'm this horrible person that's not gonna, somebody is in a really bad bind, but like, I can't, look, I was not in any financial position to spend money on readings. And I'll tell you, astrology readings, they're $200 an hour. Like, at least. I mean, they're real birth chart analysis from a good astrologer, 200, 250. So just, and it's 60 minutes. That's it. And they cut you off. I mean, that's because if they did, you know, with me, like, I'll sit on the phone for an hour and a half, then unless I have another reading backed up. So it's tough. Like, and then my energy gets drained. So then I can't do shows, or then I can't sell homes. It's like, I have a lot going on. So I have to be brutally honest and blunt about this. It's just because people say rude shit and I get irritated. Just if you can't handle that, you know, just don't watch it, and don't take offense if I can't respond, or if you say something about a price or whatever. It's like, it is what it is. I can give you other astrologers. You have an obvious, somebody wrote here, who are other readers. I have a whole freaking show on who I recommend on every great astrologer known to man.
Right.
It's all over there. Okay. So look. Okay.
It is draining work. You know, this isn't like, you know, this isn't retail. Okay. This is about immersing ourselves in somebody's energy, a complete stranger's energy most of the time, and doing what we do. Oh, wow, look, my battery is going to die. I don't believe it. This is draining work. This is really, really hard work. And Heidi, I don't know if I mentioned it to you, but you should probably take magnesium, because I think that this type of work actually does drain the magnesium stores in the body. So that's something that I tell all kinds of readers to do. That's what I learned. So with that being said, I'm going to jump off here. I really can't wait until our next show. As always, Heidi, thank you so much for having me on your channel.
Anytime, Jenny. Thank you for doing this with me.
Bye, everybody. Have a nice weekend. See you later.
Bye, guys. Thanks.